How's it going, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of the Mavs Step Back Podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Drew Johnson. This is not a celebratory pod like we had really hoped for because the Mavs came into Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals. They had a commanding 3-0 lead. I don't know, DJ. They had all the talk leading up to Game 4 about how they weren't going to look past this game and that they needed to, treat it like it was a 0-0 series and bring the energy and, all this other stuff. They're not looking forward to the to the NBA Finals. That's not really how they came out and played in this one. The energy was lacking even from the beginning. And look, I get it. Derek Lively wasn't playing because Cat needed him in the back of the head in Game 3, and he missed this game. He's probably going to be back for Game 5 in Minnesota, but, the Mavs really missed Derek Lively in Game 4. It was very apparent. Gafford, he did as good as he could have done, in my opinion. 12 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks, had some huge blocks on Cat when it felt like Cat was, just not going to miss anything for the entire night. I think Cat ended up with 4 misses overall on the night, 1 miss from 3, and I feel like all 3 of his misses from the floor, inside the 3-point line, I feel like all 3 of those were Gafford blocks. So, Cat, after having that 0 game and getting clowned, with the whole greatest shooter of all time thing with Dirk being courtside, he comes back strong, hits 4 out of 5 threes. In Game 4. And Anthony Edwards, he didn't have a good shooting game yet again, but he finished with 29 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, and he hit arguably the biggest shot of the game. The Mavs were down 197 with 39 seconds left in the fourth quarter, and Anthony Edwards pulled up and hit a huge mid-range shot to give the Timberwolves a 102-97 lead. Now, it was 103-97 with a little less than 20 seconds remaining. And we thought, okay, well, this is definitely over. Luka hits an insane 3 and gets fouled by Anthony Edwards. So he hits the 3, gets fouled. It's 103-100. Goes to the line, misses a free throw. Very reminiscent of that one game against OKC, where he had a chance to hit some big free throws and he missed the most important one, the last one. So not a good night for Luka. The stats wise, he had another triple double, but it was one of those where it's just like, he shot 7 of 21 overall. He shot 4 of 11 from 3, which wasn't good. Kyrie Irving wasn't good either in this game. He only had 16 points on 6 of 18 shooting. 1 of 6 from 3, only 2 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 turnovers for Kyrie in 42 minutes. That's not going to get it done. Now, to be fair to Kyrie, when you have an NBA record, 14-0 record in closeout games, you're probably due for a closeout loss at some point in your career. You're probably not going to win them all. Well, if he was going to have one, at least he had one when it was, his team having a 3-0 lead, and not a bigger game down the road. So I don't know, man. Overall, I don't feel terrible about this because, one, I think the Mavs are still undefeated in this postseason coming off of losses. This actually gives them a chance or gives the coaching staff a chance to do what they've done best, is, take a loss, come back in the next game, and strategize to make sure that doesn't happen again. But aside from the X's and O's, I think this just comes down to the fact that your 2 stars didn't play up to their level, what they need to play at. And, the Timberwolves, they shot 46% from 3, 53% overall. They won the rebounding battle. It was close, but they won it 40-38. Points in the paint, they won 46-36. And it feels like those two categories are the main categories that the Mavs won in the first 3 games of this series. So that's what I look at. I think that's the biggest difference. The Mavs didn't have Derek Lively, and their two stars shot the ball just very poorly, and it just didn't allow them to come away with a sweep. But what are you thinking heading into Game 5 now in Minnesota?
Well, I sincerely hope that we get Derek Lively back because Derek Lively, I knew that he made a huge difference in terms of interior defense, but he's having him and Gafford as sort of a 1-2 punch is absolutely critical because when you bring one off the floor and you put the other in, you don't lose anything. In fact, when you bring Gafford off the floor and you put Lively in, you're actually gaining something on both ends of the floor, in my opinion. But you don't. The big thing is you don't lose anything when you have to take Gafford off the floor and put Powell in. You are losing everything as far as your ability to defend the rim, um, just your ability to defend in general. I hate to say it, but Powell has no place out there. He just doesn't. He
Yeah,
plays hard, but a
he
mouse,
only
a
he only
mouse
played
puts a
he only
horse
played
on.
3 minutes, but I mean
Yeah,
it felt so much longer than that. It was so bad.
but even then, so now you're relying heavily on Gafford. Like now he is having to play more minutes than what he would normally have to, and that's a lot to ask. Um, Kleber had some good minutes, but he's still not 100%. In fact, I don't know that he's even like 75%.
He can't shoot. He's still
No,
got it defensively, I think, but he
yeah.
he cannot shoot the ball at all. He was very hesitant.
Um, but even like despite all of that, despite the bad shooting, the turnovers. I mean, hell, they talked about Minnesota's turnover problem in the game. They only had one more turnover than we did. We had 14 of them. So that's a huge issue. So I mean, you have to think if we take better care of the ball, if we shoot just a hair better, we probably win this game, just like we've won a lot of other really ugly games in the past in these playoffs. Um, we just didn't have quite enough to get it done tonight, and it really felt like, I don't want to take anything away from the Timberwolves, specifically Carl Anthony Towns. I thought he played well tonight, and I thought that Anthony Edwards played well tonight. But they did a lot of stupid stuff, specifically in the foul department. Their star players very well could have all fouled out of tonight's game. They were very fortunate that Cat was the only one who did, because there were several instances where Rudy Gobert could have fouled out. I'm thinking specifically of one instance where PJ Washington took it right into his chest and scored, and he folded right over him like a lawn chair.
Yep.
That should have been a foul. He sets a moving screen every time he sets a screen. All of those could have been called fouls. So they were very fortunate to get away with what they got away with. Um, but even with all of that considered, it doesn't feel like Minnesota outright won this game. It feels like Dallas lost it. And they lost it
Absolutely.
with poor play out of both the guards. I wouldn't say the bigs played bad. I thought that Gafford did his job. I have to edit that. Jesus, I'm tired. Um,
Where, where there is no editing being done tonight. This is rolling as soon as we finish.
well,
Uh,
sorry guys, I can't talk tonight. Um, Gafford played well overall. I thought he did his job. Um, but the thing that really bothers me was a comment made by Kyrie Irving at the beginning of the game or before the game. And it was something to the tune of, this is their Super Bowl and this is just another game for us. That just, I know what he means by it, but in hindsight, looking at it after a loss, it just seems very nonchalant. It seems very casual. And there is no place for casual at this point in the season on this stage. And he knows that. He's a champion. But as a leader, we can't be setting the tone like that, And again, I know what he meant by it. I do know what he meant by
and
it.
he was
But
right because you could tell. I mean, when a team has their back up against the wall and it's do or die. Like you either win the game or your season is over.
Yep.
You're going to get their best effort. I mean, it literally. I mean, it literally was their Super Bowl. But kind of like with Anthony Edwards calling out Kyrie before the Western Conference Finals started, maybe just don't say anything
Yeah.
until the series is over. Just to be sure. But I'm with you. I think this is more of the Mavs not playing up to their ability more so than it is, the Timberwolves came out and took it. Because I mean, look, even without Derek Lively, you held the Timberwolves to 105 points. You held them to 105 points. I mean, come on. They got 25 free throws. They missed 9 of them, so that was a big missed opportunity. Um, let's see how many free throws. Okay, we had 21 free throws. So that was one thing that Anthony Edwards was complaining about in Game 3, that the Mavs had almost double the amount of free throw attempts that the Timberwolves had, and the Timberwolves came back and had more than the Mavs in this game. But man, I'm with you. I think it's more of just, again, the simple things. One, Derek Lively wasn't there. You had to have Kleba coming back from the first game back from his shoulder injury. Clearly wasn't right, especially offensively. He was put out there for defensive purposes, and he did his job having another big body out there. But for the most part, he's just not right now. It's why it's vital that the Mavs end this as soon as possible, so he can continue to rest up and get that shoulder right before the NBA Finals. But you still got to win one more game. And that was part of the issue. One, you didn't have Lively, so you had to play Kleba and Powell and extend Gafford's minutes beyond what he normally plays. That was the first issue. The second issue, again, is your stars and their efficiency. And not just the stars, but PJ Washington too. Luka, 7 of 21 overall. Kyrie, 6 of 18 overall. PJ Washington, 3 of 13 overall. Only hit 2 of his 9 3-point attempts. Like, that's not gonna cut it. You gotta do something different.
Well, I
And,
think another issue that I noticed just down the stretch, and I really noticed this in the third quarter, is what we did on offense. We were so good in the pick and roll in those first 3 games. And I feel like, while we did utilize it, we didn't utilize it near as much. In fact, a lot of what we did offensively tonight was just straight up isolation. And it doesn't work, like, especially compared to the efficiency that you get in the pick and roll. And I get not going to it whenever Gafford is not on the floor, but whenever he is on the floor, I would be pick and rolling them to death, because they can't guard it. Gobert can't guard it. Towns can't guard it. Why are we not exploiting this every single time, or at least trying to? Why are we settling for isolation possessions when we clearly know what works?
yeah.
That's probably my biggest issue.
And another thing, and we're just nitpicking at this point and bitching a little bit, because obviously it was an annoying game to have to watch with so many things going wrong. But as good as Jason Kidd has been, I thought in this game, especially since you're shorthanded, you don't have arguably. I mean, look, I feel like Derek Lively has been so important in this series so far that he could get some Western Conference Finals MVP votes. He's been so impressive, like especially in the plus minus department.
Yeah.
Now I know that's probably not going to happen. It'll probably go to Luka if the Mavs finish this off, but he's been so important for this team. And when you're that shorthanded and all of your guys are struggling shooting threes, Luka 4 of 11 from 3, Kyrie 1 of 6 from 3, PJ Washington 2 of 9 from 3. I would have liked to see more Jaden Hardy down the stretch, because we talked about him in the last pod, his game 3 performance, really how he's performed this whole series. Like, he's fearless. He's not afraid of the moment. He's come in. He's given the Mavs really good minutes, and he did so again in game four. He only played 12 minutes off the bench, but he went 5 of 8 overall. He hit 3 of his 4 3-pointers. He hit a huge one in the fourth quarter. Let me see when exactly Hardy hit that three. It was a corner three. Let me see. It was to start the fourth quarter. So the Mavs were down 5. Jaden Hardy hit a three to cut it to within 2. And then, that eventually led to the Mavs tying it. And, they didn't, I don't think they got the lead. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they came back and got the lead. Sorry, I'm scatterbrained right now, y'all. So Hardy hit that three to start the fourth quarter. He had been great all night. I really wish he had finished the game because the Mavs had a 90-89 lead with a little under 6 minutes left after Kyrie hit a 11-foot pull-up shot off a Daniel Gafford assist, and then from that point on, it just didn't go the Mavs' way because Karl Anthony Towns hit 2 consecutive threes. Those brush screens that Minnesota kept setting just killed the Mavs all night long. Like they don't know how to keep from. And it's Anthony. You got to credit Anthony Edwards and his aggressiveness getting downhill, because once he gets downhill and touches the paint, then that's where you have that situation where the weak side defender is coming in, and then they're setting those brush screens, and it's leaving the guy on the far corner open.
Mm-hmm.
And that killed the Mavs all night long. So that's something you got to look at. But before I go down a rabbit hole, I'm going to get back to my point. I really wish Jaden Hardy. I really wish Kid would have found a way to finish out the game with him. I know you got to ride with the guys that got you here, and he's got his closing lineup. But Lively wasn't there. Luka and Kyrie couldn't hit a three to save their lives in this one down the stretch, except for that Luka heave when it was too late.
Neither PJ or Derek Jones. Neither of
Right,
them were making anything. I mean,
right.
yeah,
I mean, Derek Jones was okay, but
yeah.
he was just awful. I mean, I know you got to have him on the floor for defensive purposes, but still, I mean, Hardy, he's played good enough defensively. He was shooting the ball well enough. I feel like it would have been nice to have him in there, as a uh, corner three guy, or just anywhere from three, because he was shooting it really well. I would have
He
liked,
shot the best of anybody tonight. I mean, he did.
yeah,
So,
but it is what it is. I mean, this is it's not like do or die for the Mavs, and that's how they came out and played this one. Like they had some wiggle room, and sure enough, we're heading back to Minnesota for a game 5. That crowd will be, pumped up. You've given them a little bit of life now. So, we'll have to see. We had that, Chandler, uh, Micah Parsons, almost said Chandler Parsons, Micah Parsons, Dallas Cowboys linebacker. He was at the game at American Airlines Center. He was wearing a Luka jersey, but he was wearing Anthony Edwards shoes, which was interesting. And Tim McMahon, ESPN, said that Anthony Edwards told Micah Parsons that he was going to bring him some new ones when the Timberwolves came back for Game 6 at American Airlines Center. So, well, we'll see. I mean, Anthony Edwards, he's had something bold to say after every single game, and even before the series starts, he has to have. That's just part of his character. He has to have something, really bold he has to say after every game. So we'll see if it pays off for him. But I mean, what are your biggest takeaways, or what are your biggest things you're looking forward to going into Game 5? Because mine is very simple. Mine is, does Derek Lively come back and play in Game 5? Because that's what I'm looking forward to. If Derek Lively comes back and plays in Game 5, I fully expect the Mavs to finish this thing off.
yeah, Lively is such a huge part of everything, both offensively and defensively. I can't think of someone who makes more of an impact coming off the bench. Honestly, like I really can't. But besides that, I would like to see the Mavericks go back to what got them here offensively. And I'm talking about exploiting Minnesota in the pick and roll, going to it early and often, trying to get high percentage shots early and often. Because, it's hard to climb yourself out of a hole when you're settling. And I felt like we settled a lot tonight.
Yeah.
And once you go 5, 6 minutes without seeing anything go through the hoop, that impacts your confidence. I don't care who you are. And then all of a sudden we're shooting a little bit tighter and now we can't make anything. So I would really like to see us work for some higher percentage opportunities. Not to say don't shoot threes. We have some really high percentage 3-point shooters. But whenever you're just jacking stagnant threes, like stagnant stare down threes where you catch it, you give your defender time to set up, all you do is jab step them and then pull up. It's not a good shot, guys. It's just not. It's just not. We can get something better than that. We need to stop wasting possessions. We also need to take much better care of the ball because 14 turnovers is not going to cut it.
Yeah.
And those are my, like you said, lively. That's one of my big three things.
Well, and look, credit Coach Finch for the Timberwolves, because he knew Lively wasn't playing, and he changed up. The Timberwolves, they only shot 24 threes. Now, given they hit 11 of them, so that's 46%. That's very good. But they didn't shoot very many threes. They knew Lively was out. They attacked the paint, and they won the points in the paint battle. What did I say it was again? It was 46-36. So,
Yep.
I mean, that was part of the game plan. Lively's out. We're going to change how we play. That's one concern, going into Game 5, because Mike Conley didn't shoot good from three. He was 1 of 4. Naz Reid only played 20 minutes off the bench, and he only took 1 3 and missed it. And he only had 6 points and was a -10 in those 20 minutes. So, he's probably going to have a bounce back game in Game 5. But I also don't think Luka and Kyrie are going to come back and shoot a combined 13 of 39 from the field in Game 5. I think they'll bounce back. PJ Washington, I don't know. I mean, I feel like he might come back and bounce back too, but definitely Kyrie and Luka. And then if Lively is back, and all signs right now point to he will be back, because he's not in the league's concussion protocol. I know Mark J. Spears put out a tweet, after the game tonight, saying that he was in the concussion protocol, but he misspoke. He deleted that tweet pretty quickly and clarified in his last one. So no concussion protocol for Lively. He's day to day. I think he will play in Game 5, and hopefully, the Mavs can close this thing out, because if they don't close it out in Game 5, then things start to get a little spooky.
Yeah.
with it coming back to Dallas for a Game 6. So we'll see. I think it's playing out, pretty well. The Mavs have shown they can win if they can just hit some shots, and it just didn't happen on this night in the clutch like it had in the first 3 games. So I expect a big bounce back from the 2 stars, and I fully expect a Game 5 win. I'm not going to guarantee it, but that's what I expect, going into it, because they can play much better than what we saw in Game 4, and I think they know that.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that's where we're going to cut it off tonight, because there's really nothing else to say about it. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, the Mavs, they didn't get it done. Now they're going to Minnesota for a Game 5. They'll have to bring the energy. One thing that really encourages me is, well, a couple things that really encourage me. One, the Mavs are undefeated after a loss this postseason. That's a big thing. 2, Luka loves playing on the road. We've talked about that earlier in this series. He loves disappointing the away fans. So he has a chance to send the Timberwolves home, or make them stay at home with a win in Game 5. So that'll be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. So
and Kyrie is 14-1 in closeout games now, but he's still 14-1.
He's now he can be 15-1. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's still pretty good.
maybe he doesn't need to start going on a landslide right now. So we'll
He needs to stop answering questions. Is what he needs to do. He needs to stay away from microphones and
yeah.
just not give his opinion. Just go play ball.
Yeah, this I need Kyrie to be aggressive to start out the game like he was in game one, and really the Mavs close this thing out because I'm trying. I really want to finalize my travel plans to go to Boston for either game one or game two of the finals. But the Mavs are making it really like I could have done that tonight, and they didn't allow me to do it. I'm not going to finalize those plans until they officially beat the Timberwolves. So
yeah, so you guys need a freaking win because Dalton's got to schedule his trip.
exactly, Kid needs to put it on the bulletin board. Dalton Trigg can't schedule his trip to Boston until we win this game, and then they'll win the game because they all love me so much.
That's right.
Well, guys, look, we appreciate y'all coming in here and listening to us ramble for a little bit. We will be back Thursday night because, again, there's a game 5. We'll see how it goes in Minnesota. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.